Hey everybody, welcome. This is Coach Tall Guy. If you came across my channel today, please feel free to hit subscribe. This channel is really built for you guys who are volunteer coaches, parent coaches. I really try to dive into topics that are really relate to like those young players, those recreational players. You don't have a lot of coaching education, so you're just looking for some tips and ideas on how to make sure that your practices are going well, the kids are learning, game days are good. So I'm glad you tuned in today because we're going to talk about getting kids' attention. All right, how to move from one activity to another effectively, how to re-engage the player, which is super hard at these young ages. Every single year as a director, I deal with volunteer coaches, and one of the comments I always get, oh man, this is a lot like herding cats. And you know what, you're right, it's hard, it's super hard. There's so much time where you got to bring them in, try to get them going into activities, and there is definitely an art to it. It's difficult, but it can be done. And I'm going to give you some tricks, some tips to hopefully help your practices run a little bit smoother, to get those kids' attention a little bit quicker so that they're getting more time on the ball, more time engaged in their activities. So the first thing you got to make sure you have as a coach is a plan. Okay, when you have a plan, you're like halfway there. Okay, that's going to help a lot because you know where you're going forward. You know where your transition times are going to be from one activity to another. Okay, so the plan is important. Now, when the players come, the big thing we need to do is make sure that the players are moving quickly. So whether that's you bringing them in, all right, and getting their attention, which is huge, or if they just immediately come in and you've got some activity going, that's fine as well. More often than not, you're gonna bring them into you and then have them go into their activity. And that's your first opportunity, you guys, to use some of these tips, to use some of these tricks. So whenever you're bringing players into you so you can give them instructions, there's a little bit of an art to this. One of the things I love to use is a countdown method where I might say, all right, hey boys, girls, we got 10 seconds to be into coach. 9, 8, 7. And by me giving them a countdown, they know that I want them in. All of a sudden they're listening, they're engaged, and they want to try to get to me before that clock goes down. They're trying to beat the clock. A little thing I might add to it is like, don't be last, don't be last. And again, I'm just trying to encourage them to get into me as quick as possible. Now, once they're into me as a coach, I need to make sure that their attention's on me. I need their eyes on me so that way I can quickly deliver my instructions and get them moving. So once I bring them in, all right, then I'm saying, okay, I need everybody's eyes on me. And then once I see that their eyes are on me, I can now give my instructions. It's really important that they're focused on you. Another thing we have to keep in mind is the age group of the players, okay? If they're real young, me being a taller coach, it can be a little bit intimidating if I'm looking down on the players. So one of the things I like to do is if I'm working with really young players, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, I like to get down lower to their level so that their eyes are looking into my eyes and I don't feel like so intimidating being so tall, all right? That can really turn a player off. They can, particularly with those little kids, they can get a little scared. So just getting down to their level and talking to them helps a lot. Now, once you've got them in, all right, their eyes are on you, that's when you have to give quick instructions, okay? You do not want these long-winded instructions because then you're gonna lose the kids. Very important when you do give your instructions that then you give some sort of demonstration of the activity. Kids, majority of them, listen to this closely, majority of kids are visual learners. So the more we can demonstrate as a coach, the better off our practice is going to be. If we give them these long instructions, all right, that's not how they learn at those young ages. They might hear 1 or 2 words and then they've checked out. Their attention spans are very short. But if you can show them how the activity looks, they're going to pick up on that a little bit more, okay? So make sure you're always giving a demo after your instructions. Now, let's say you get them in their first activity. They're moving, they're grooving, you're keeping them active. You're like a superstar coach, they're just engaged, they're active. Now, it's that dreaded time. It's called the water break. All right, the water break is important because obviously the kids need to hydrate, they need to get some water. And for me as a coach, I like the water break because it gives me an opportunity now to maybe move cones around, set up some things for my next activity. So I need that little bit of downtime, all right? And the players need that little bit of downtime to rehydrate. But the hard part is with these young kids, they go to a water break and that's when the most discipline issues happen. That's the hardest time to re-engage the players. So some things I love to use with players to give them their water break is I might say freeze, and that's an important one too. When you want the kids to stop doing something, yell that word out, freeze. Maybe give a clap, all right? So they can hear it, they can hear your voice. Everybody, I want you to go get some water, but you have 1 minute. You got 1 minute to get water, so make sure it's quick. And by me saying you have 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever it is to get water, that's letting them know that, hey, they don't have a lot of time. And by giving them less time at their water break means for me, a lot less discipline issues and gives me a little bit of time to start setting up my next activity, all right? And then as they're getting water, and I might be setting cones up, all right, hey, boys, girls, we got 30 seconds, make sure you're finishing up. And I keep moving, all right, we got 10 more seconds, I need that last sip in you. And then, all right, everybody come on into coach. You got 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2. Using that time limit, that countdown, again, it's just to let them know that, hey, water breaks for water. It's not for goofing off. And I need you back here as quick as possible. If you're giving like 5, 10-minute water breaks, yeah, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be really hard. You're gonna lose the kids, all right? And it's gonna be hard to get their attention when they come back. So make sure your water breaks are fairly short. Give them that little time limit. You'll be shocked at how quickly they'll come back into you. If you just say, go get water, you're gonna have a lot of issues, okay? Another thing I like to use is if I'm struggling sometimes, particularly if I have big groups, okay? I might have a good sized team and maybe I've asked them to come in, but they're kind of talking. I need to get them on something. I really need their eyes on me. Maybe I've got them on lined up to do some sort of activity. I might use something where I go, hey everyone, who can do this? And then by me doing those claps, it signals to them, all of a sudden they're hearing something, it's kind of unique, it's kind of different, and they want to try to mimic me. And I can do a variety of things with that. I could be like, who can do this one? And then they have to mimic you, and then all of a sudden, their focus is on you. A lot of times too, if I'm transitioning from an activity to activity, we might be, hey, freeze, everybody clap 3 times for me if you can hear me. And then all of a sudden the players are clapping, they're focusing on you. Hey, everybody freeze, who can do these? And then again, they're looking at you, they're focusing on you. So anything you can do to quickly get their attention on you so that you can transition to the next activity is gonna be really, really big for these players, all right? So take some of these things, incorporate them into your practice, because if you don't do it, you're just spending so much time re-engaging. And I've definitely seen coaches like, hey boys, girls, let's come on in, and you know, we're gonna get ready here. And in a way, it's not bad, all right? You're trying, but even your tone of voice isn't demanding enough. Now, you don't have to be a jerk about it, but you do have to have some sort of presence with these young kids. If you're too soft and you're not energetic, you don't have your voice up a little bit, it's just gonna be that much harder for you to get their attention. But if you say something like, hey everybody, we got 10 seconds, let's go. Who can get to Coach Tall Guy first? Let's go, let's go, let's go. I wanna see. You can probably just hear the difference, right? If you're a young player, that's like, oh yeah, I need to get going. We're here to practice. But if you're just sort of, hey everybody, can you please come on in? I'd like to tell you what you're doing today. You know, the kids are gonna be like, really? Okay. So have a bit of a presence out there, all right? And then that presence totally changes depending on the level that you're coaching, okay? If I'm coaching a U17, U18 boys competitive team, there's no way I'm using that type of tone with them, all right? I'm not gonna use some of the same verbiage, okay? So it changes depending on the level that you play. But most of you, if you're turning in here, you're dealing with these young kids. You've gotta get them going. A couple other takeaways. If you want your practice to flow and to feel like it's moving, you've gotta make sure your activities are engaging. If you got the kids sitting in too many lines, okay, they're standing and that's when kids get bored. Kids want to move, so let's feed into that. So if you're coaching these young players who are 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. Get them activated, get them moving. Your warm-up should be like one ball, one player type of activity, some sort of tag game, something that they're not standing in lines, but they're immediately engaged. And there's so many different things you can do as a coach to get them moving and get some technique on the soccer ball. And once you get them moving, some of that energy is just gone. And now you have them, they're a little bit more tired. They're willing to look at you, they're willing to pay attention a little bit. But if you have them sitting in lines, that's when they start pulling on each other's shirts. That's when they start elbowing, okay? And you're spending a lot of time just trying to get them to go where you want. And that can be pretty frustrating. And then you're cutting down their actual activity time. So that transition piece, re-engaging, getting their attention on you is so important. The sooner we can do that, the more time they have on the ball, the more time they have doing their activities, which then means the better they're becoming at the game of soccer. So as you go into your practices, use some of these things. Use that countdown method. Ask that their eyes are on you. Short, quick explanations. Use that clap method. Get down to their level, and most importantly, enjoy it. Have fun with it. Make sure you have a plan. And this is Coach Tall Guy out.